Hello everyone, this is Jacek. Today I would like to show you how to develop and retouch a simple portrait photo entirely in Alien Skin Exposure X3. The exposure software has become a full-fledged raw development and plugin software. It's no longer just a plugin, it's a standalone software, and it's powerful enough so you can retouch a raw photo, a portrait photo, entirely in one self-contained program. So let's start maybe with explaining the lighting, and we also have a color checker photo for the white balance. So this is the same setup as on those pictures. This is just a different photo shoot. And also I was using LED lights, constant lights. I was testing new LED lights with Bowens mount, but the setup is the same. The only thing changing is this softbox. On this shot, this is a 120 inches deep softbox, let's say hexa box, because it has 16 sides, and this is a new Forex 65 centimeters Raja softbox. And for this shoot I also used as a main light the 105 centimeters Forex Raja or Raja, and it was the key light. And we have also a bounce here, a silver reflector that fills in the shadow opposite side the main light. The model on the main shoot was sitting around 1.5 meters away from the backdrop, and the smaller softbox was illuminating the background with 1/4 CTO gel just for a warm glow on the brown background. In this scenario, the LED has a variable temperature, so I could manipulate it. In this photo I used strobes, so the main light was a standard color temperature and the background light had a 1/4 CTO. And this is a very classic portrait look. You have main source light slightly above and on an angle with a filled in shadows and something for the background. In this case the background is very dark, so I needed it to catch some more light. That's why the extra softbox. So let's start with picking the white balance. We have the color checker here. To be honest, it has a separate white balance card, but I use it for creating a profile. But also this side has some nice color balances that you can, white balances that you can choose from, and you can shift the tint and temperature just by selecting a specific square, or you can just choose a neutral gray color. I don't know if you've noticed, but this is the before and after. My Nikon files always look a little bit green, so I like to have a neutral gray card so I can take away the green very easily. So now the photo has a much more pleasing skin tone. We can go to the next one and just click previous, and it will synchronize the white balance from the previous photo. But beside the white balance, obviously, although the picture looks nice already, we want to bring up the shadows a little bit to bring up more information in the background. But also we will bring up the exposure a little bit and bring down the highlights. It will also give an overall feeling, a light feeling effect. We can also go to the whites to bring up a little bit of the contrast in the skin and just decrease the blacks a little bit for just an extra punch. So we have before and after, before and after. We have the corrected white balance and a little bit more information in the entire photo. If we want, we can also go to the tone curve and adjust it very slightly, so we have still even more range in our picture. And also I like the color tab and the color section in Alien Skin because it gives you a color filter. It's like a color filter adjustment layer in Photoshop, so you can choose a warming filter or orange, let's say warming, and you can lower the density just to, like, say 10 and we have before and after. So we have more information in the photo, corrected white balance, and a little bit warmer overall photo. For me, I like my skin tones quite warm because they are more pleasing that way, but of course it depends on the photo shoot and it depends on the direction of your retouch. Okay, so let's start with, well, let's say we already started, but let's go to the healing brush section. So now in the newer versions of exposure software, we have a very nice healing brush and you can choose from cloning or healing. Of course, we want to choose healing because it will mix the texture just like in the Photoshop. So we just paint over it and it will automatically select an area from which it takes the texture and color and mixes it in the source material. And we will go through the photo. One thing that slightly annoys me, or maybe is inconvenient, when I want to move around the picture, I press spacebar, but the spacebar also acts as a before button. So every time I press it and want to move around, I get an unrendered image before the changes. Okay, so let's move around and just quickly heal the skin. We can also try to get rid of this shadow, but of course it will take a sample which is not that appropriate. Okay, so let's also try to get rid of this shadow just by, yep, okay, let's move it over here. We can just grab it and move it, so there's not an issue. Let's deselect it. We will see the before and after. Perfect, so we got rid of very small skin imperfections. And now what we want to do, we want to lighten the eyes a little bit. So for that we can go next to the healing brush to the brush tool, and here we have a lot of presets to choose from. And when you choose, for example, a dodge preset, a new layer is created in the layer window, and this is something that is great in the exposure software, that you can work on layers. And when you select a preset from the brush, you can see here a thumbnail that is a lot more, let's say, where do you say, let's choose large thumbnails, and you can see it. It is simply a new picture, a snapshot of a picture with the exposure cranked up a little bit, well, even quite a bit, and it is masked out entirely. So now the brush that we are using, it's a white brush that is unveiling the photo, the snapshot underneath, which has an increased exposure. So we can control it either by decreasing the overall exposure of the effect that you have under this brush preset. Of course, you get a nice notification, or you can just lower the flow to, let's say, 4 and just brush in a couple of strokes, and you can see the before and after. So you can gently brush in the strokes and it will just appear gradually. So now let's give the lights a little bit more light. The lights, the eyes. Of course I meant the eyes. Okay, let's zoom out. You can zoom out with the scroll wheel. Okay, let's frame our face so we can see it a little bit more than the entire frame, because we want to do a slight global dodging and burning. So I will just lighten some parts of the face on the neck here, and we can see it by selecting and deselecting, so before and after, a simple dodge. And now of course when we dodge we also need to burn. So this jawline, a little bit the shape of the face, and we have before and after, before and after. So overall if we deselect it, click once, click second twice, we go to full view, we have the before and after of the overall image at this point. So we didn't do much, to be honest. We have 3 layers, we have some simple adjustments, but the photo already looks much nicer. But let's say this would be the part in the Photoshop that I would finish my editing at. And what I need to do now is give the photo a finishing touch, which is a color grading. So this is the strongest suit of Alien Skin Exposure software in my opinion, because it started as a plugin container or a plugin software with a lot of great film simulations, but it ended up as full-fledged raw editing software. But all the presets are still here, and I am currently in my favorites folder because there are a lot of hundreds, I think, of presets overall. And when you like one of them, you just click the yellow star in the top right corner at the top right corner and it will appear in your favorites tab. Okay, but we need to add a new blank layer so we don't mess up the underlying layers. And what I want to do now is, let's say, put a black and white layer on it, but I want to decrease the opacity so I get a little washed out effect. But as you can see, I get a notification that this is a black and white blend base and I need to change it here to a color base, and now the opacity will decrease the saturation of my photo by showing up the underlying black and white filter. So I want to do just a little bit, let's say before and after, a little bit of a washed out effect, but also I need to punch the contrast a little bit more. So let's go to one of my favorites, color film slides, Kodachrome 25 sharp. But this is also too strong because we have desaturated the picture and now there's a lot of more saturation. What I need from this is the contrast and a little bit of warmth. So we will go to, let's say, a 50 opacity, 50% opacity, and we have before and after of the Kodachrome, before and after of all adjustments that we have done. But this is not enough for me. I want a little bit more. What I want is a little bit extra something in the shadows, so I will add yet another layer. I will go to the same filter, stronger, but with also some cross processing, which is visible in the shadow, so it has some blue quality in the shadow. And if we go to the tone curve, we can see that the green and the blue channels were adjusted a little bit. And this is the default preset in the alien skin, but I also don't want it on 100%. What I want it at is something around, let's say, 70. Yes, 70. And now we have the before and the after. So in quite a few steps, we ended up in 6 layers. And let me remind you that this is the raw file. You are working on a layers on a raw file in the raw converter. All the filters available on the left side are just adjustments from the panels on the right side. So if you know what you are doing on the right side, you don't need to use the presets. But the presets are the best part of this program. They are very well built. There are multiple variations of one look. So as you saw, you have a Kodachrome and you have a Kodachrome with the cross processing on it. I don't remember honestly if I put cross processing on it and saved it as a preset or was it built in. You can do whatever you like. If you adjust anything, you just add a new preset to your collection. You can choose from many adjustments that you have done to save it, and you have a completely new preset available at any time. So at this point, I would say this is a finished image. All I have to do now is just export it. I go to File, Export, and in this dialog window we have some options. You can choose the destination. I usually choose the same folder. I put it in the subfolder. with the exposure suffix. I also put the exposure name on my file names. I exported at 100% quality, and let's say for web, let's put it at 2048 pixels and let's say 240 dpi. When we hit export, exposure will process our file. It will be available in the same folder as the original photo in a subfolder with a changed name. That's how I like to do it, but also what is nice in exposure, it will automatically add your exported photo into your collection that you already have active. That will be all from my side. Thank you all for watching. If you like to support this channel, please subscribe. Also, you can use the affiliate link down in the description to try out the Exposure X free and also to purchase it. Thank you very much again and see you next time. Bye!